In this video, we are going to discuss about functionality to credit or waive off an invoice in Revenue Cloud Advanced or RCA. Let's try to understand this with an example use case. Using Revenue Cloud Advanced, you have raised an invoice to the customer, but the customer called up to say product or service received by them are faulty or damaged. In order to compensate the customer, and as a goodwill gesture, you want to waive off the invoice so the customer is no longer required to pay the invoice. This is where credit and invoice functionality kicks in. Crediting an invoice effectively gives away your products or services for free to the customer. If you create an invoice, Revenue Cloud creates a credit memo equal to the invoice total amount. The credit memo contains credit memo lines that are allocated in full to each of the invoice line, resulting in the balance amount of the invoice being set to zero. Okay. Let's see this in action. So I'm logged into my Revenue Cloud instance. I go to my invoices tab, where this list will show me various posted non-zero balance invoice. And maybe I click on this invoice 215. As you could this, as you could see, this invoice has a status of posted, and the balance amount is £112.49, and the settlement status is not settled here, right? And it has various invoice lines underneath for the various product bought by the customer. So if I want to credit this invoice, I click on this button, appropriately named credit invoice. I confirm my selection or action. So when the action is performed, as you could see, although the status of the invoice is still posted, but balance has been reduced to zero. Given the balance is zero, settlement status has been changed to settle. Net credit applied fee is equal to the amount of the invoice. And you could also see a credit memo has been created for this invoice with the same amount as the invoice. And corresponding to the invoice line, this credit memo has a credit memo lines for each corresponding invoice line. And probably if you go to any credit memo line here, you would see some allocation through this relatively score credit memo line invoice lines. Right. So, and given this invoice has been credited now, as you could see, the invoice button, credit invoice button is hidden now. And because you want to show this button only if the invoice status is posted and the balance is greater than zero, which is not in this case, right? Because you don't want to be able to waive off an invoice that's already paid or is not yet finalized or posted. One thing I want to highlight here that as on Spring 25, which is the current sprint for Revenue Advanced, provision to credit an invoice is available only via an API. We have built this demo using the wrapper function using the corresponding API. We understand that in the future releases of Salesforce Revenue Cloud Advanced, this will be available as a standard but on the invoice record. Till then, I think we have to use this API for the same purpose. I hope you like this video. If you want to see more such example for Revenue Cloud scenarios, please follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you.